Assalamu alaikum, my dear listeners, and welcome to the Urban Sheikh podcast. I'm your host, the Urban Sheikh, and today I would like to talk to you about a very interesting and reflective topic which I feel is very important for all of us to be aware of. Now, my dear listeners, if you do enjoy this podcast, then please do give it a like, subscribe, and share it with your family and friends. But let us begin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Now, my dear listeners, if there is one thing that we all must realize, it's that Allah works in the most amazing of ways. We see His miracles on a daily basis through His signs and His creations. Subhanallah. Now, the topic that I would like to discuss with you today is related to the graveyard. Now, when many of us think of the graveyard, we think of it as a resting place for the dead. But if we were to think about the graveyard on a deeper level, we come to realize that the graveyard is in fact a metaphorical and visual representation of something far greater. You see, when we walk through a graveyard, what do we usually see? We see rows of headstones, names engraved in stone, flowers that fade with time. But if we take a moment to pause and think, we realize that the graveyard is not just a resting place for the dead, but in fact it's a mirror for the living. The Qur'an reminds us that every soul shall taste death, and you will only be given your full compensation on the day of resurrection. So he who is drawn away from the fire and admitted to paradise has attained his true desire. Now, this verse in the Quran reminds us that death is not an end. In fact, it's a continuation of existence, a transfer into the next stage of reality. And the condition of the grave, both physically and spiritually, is deeply connected to the actions of the living members of one's family. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about what I'm about to tell you. You see, when a member of a family departs from this world and their body is entered into the grave, the earth that covers them is conditioned not only by the actions, the good deeds, and the charity of that individual that has departed from this world, but also by the actions of the living members of the family. You see, when we see a grave that is well kept, clean, with fresh flowers and soft soil, it reflects not just the respect of the family, but also the barakah, the good blessings surrounding their lives, their prayers, their charity, their remembrance of God. And all of these things reach the one that has passed. And such a person in the grave reaps the rewards of those things that are done on their behalf. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a man dies, his deeds come to an end except for three things: continuous charity, knowledge which is beneficial, or a righteous child who prays for him. And this saying from our beloved Prophet ﷺ shows us that the link between the living and the dead is not severed. You see, our actions in the living world can help bring light and ease to those that are in the grave. It brings comfort to their bodies, and it also brings blessings to their souls that are in the barzakh. Now, when we go to a graveyard and we see graves that are neglected, overgrown with weeds, hardened with no life in its soil, it can reflect another reality. Sometimes it's a sign that the family that is living is struggling, they are burdened with sin, or they are distant from the remembrance of God. And that struggle can also mirror the mirror the condition of the one in the grave as well. You see, Imam Ali AS said that the grave is either a garden from the gardens of paradise or a pit from the pits of hell. And this statement reminds us that what we leave behind in this world, the world of the living, our family, our legacy, our good deeds, all of these things continue to shape the state of our resting place for our bodies. Imam Jafar Sadiq al-Islam said, the deceased benefits from the charity, prayers and applications made for him. So whenever you go to the graveyard, make sure that you recite Qur'an and you make dua for those who have passed on into the next world. Imam Zainul Abidin al-Islam, who is known for his constant duas, would weep in graveyards and remind the people, and they would say, the grave is the first stage of the hereafter. Whoever is saved from it, what follows will be easier for him. But whoever is not saved from it, whatever follows will be much harder. Now, I want to tell you a little story about a man. Now, this man used to regularly go to the graveyard and he would clean and maintain the grave of his father. Every week he would remove the weeds, he would place fresh flowers, he would apply fragrance and would recite Quran and make du'as by his grave. Now, one night he saw his father come to him in his dream, radiant and smiling. And his father said to him, "O my son, every time you clean my grave and recite Quran, Allah fills my resting place with light and removes my burdens." Subhanallah. What a beautiful short story, and with a lot of lessons as well. And on the other hand, many scholars narrate that when a family neglects their dead, when there is no prayer, there is no charity, there is no remembrance, the soul that has departed from this world feels the weight of abandonment. So, my dear listeners, the graveyard is not just a place of death, it's not just a resting place for the dead. It is a place of truth, a place of reflection. The next time you go to a graveyard and you take a look at all the individual graves, take a moment and think and observe. The conditions of those individual graves represent and mirror an individual story of the existence and the conditions of the living members of the family of that departed soul. Every grave mirrors the state of the family that has been left behind in this world. And so we must all ask ourselves, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? Will our graves be tended to with prayers, du'as and barakah? Or will they be left in darkness, reflecting neglect and loss? May Allah give us all the strength to remember the dead and to make du'as for them, and may Allah give us all the strength to leave a good legacy behind, and may all of us be remembered in the hearts of others and in the du'as of all. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ.